So today on the bench we have a Cobra 148 GTL. If anybody is interested to know, it's a Philippines-made one. Customer sent this in, let's see. 1, no modulation. 2, little or no output power. 3, off frequency. 4, PLL trace has been cut. Needs recapping if possible. First off, I don't think it needs to be recapped. I haven't looked at every single cap, but it looks like someone has already recapped it and removed the corrosive glue. So somebody's already done a considerable amount of work to this. It looks like, let's see, that's a Nichicon. I can see that's a P. What the hell is that? A PW series? Yeah, there's a PW series. Good high quality cap. This one is a. I look through the mic hole here on the side. Yeah, that's a Panasonic Matsushita. So yeah, it looks like, well, there's a blue one. That looks, yeah, hell, that's a Rubicon, so that might be original. But it looks like the majority of them have already been replaced. That'll, of course, be very easy to see from the bottom side, solder work. But yeah, I don't think it's going to need a cap job. There's no use wasting money removing brand new, high quality caps just to put in basically the same exact thing. So, yeah, I might change 1 or 2 values just to upgrade a little bit. But yeah, it's for the most part, it looks like this. It'll be fine. Like I say, no need to waste money. Now, the receive. Yes, receive power, or receive sensitivity was extremely low, and output power was very low. It was like, I don't know, maybe around a watt or something like that. Maybe a little bit less. If I didn't know any better, I'd say somebody was playing a practical joke on somebody and purposefully detuned the radio, because that's what it was. The alignment was just, wow, holy shit, off. That's all that was, it looks like. Now, I haven't actually, done an alignment to this yet, because I do have some other issues to take care of first. But just by ear, put a signal in, just listening to it through the speaker, went through the receive alignment, and yeah, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It'll, when I do the alignment, yeah, it'll be done with test equipment, and it'll get even a little bit better. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with the receive. It was just horribly out of alignment. Like I say, it's almost like somebody detuned it. It's both receive and transmit were that far off. Transmit power. Like I say, it was at a watt or maybe a little bit less between this transformer and this transformer. That's where I got a huge boost in power. But I went through the transmit power alignment just really quick, just peaked them off real quick, just one time. And yeah, the AM dead key power was up to like 7 watts. So looked over, yeah, sure enough, the AM carrier power adjustment was turned full rotation, so that's been turned back down. So yeah, nothing wrong with output power. Modulation, yeah, not a sign of it. So that's a problem that still needs to be diagnosed. It does not have any modulation whatsoever. Now, it's not the audio amp, because you can hear it does have sound. And obviously, I did a receiver alignment listening through the speaker, so there's nothing. Obviously, that's not the problem. And the transmit. Now, the transmit's kind of a weird. Now, it is off frequency a little bit. That on the majority of channels, that'll be taken care of with an alignment. But it's got a weird problem. And this might be some of the hamster chewing on the underside of this board, but so I've got it on channel 36 right now. Okay, so that's 27365. So if we look up at that frequency counter right there, that's hooked up to the BK1040 down here through an attenuated output into the frequency counter. So I key the microphone, 27.364, 606. So yeah, it's off by about 400 hertz. Like I say, that's just part of the alignment. So that one's fine. Actually, channel 1 through 36 are fine. They're all off about 400 hertz, but other than that, they're fine. But look what happens when I go to channel 7, or 37. 27.424, and channel 38. 27.424, actually 425. Like I say, it's off by about 400 hertz. And then when I go to channel 39, 27.445. Channel 40, 27.445. So channel 39 and 40 are exactly the same, and 37 and 38 are exactly the same. And they're both above the CB band. So if we look at the underside, And yes, you can see has a PLL chip has been replaced in it. Someone stuck it in the socket. Has an MD8719 in it. So someone has definitely done some work on this, and they haven't cleaned it off. And the soldering, that's about all I can say. That's the best way to describe the soldering work on this thing. Matter of fact, let me find some of these really horrible spots here. Like right around, hell, almost anywhere. You can see the pad. You can see through the hole somewhat. I mean, just, ugh. And of course the flux wasn't cleaned off. But yeah, the soldering work on this thing, yeah, really horrible. And yeah, there's been a hamster chewing on some circuit traces here. So yeah, I need to look at that. The modulation limiter is missing out of this. Need to do some audio circuit tracing. Now I can see stuff like, get some light down in here. There's wires sticking up through the board. Matter of fact, there's nothing on the underside, so yeah, I got to trace out the audio circuit and see what's going on there. But the first thing I need to do before I go any farther, when I see crappy soldering work, clean the board off. So it needs a bath, isopropyl alcohol, give her a good spray down, scrub all that flux off of there, inspect the solder work, resolder, because it definitely needs some resoldering. Then try it again. Now, I need to check. I think this may come with a MB30 8734, and when you stick an 8719 in, you do have to cut one trace. So this may, but that's when you're doing a channel modification. Oh, and one other thing I forgot to mention. I wish I'd have done it when I still had the receiver on. This is working backwards. When you have it in the off position, it would appear, just listening to it, that the ANL is on. When you have it in the ANL noise blanker position, it's off. So you hear a lot of noise there, and as soon as you flip it to the center position, it gets quiet. And in the off position, it's quiet. But when you put, supposedly you're supposed to be turning both of them on, it's like it's off. So I don't know if the switch is in upside down. Yep, okay, wires are soldered on backwards. This apparently may have had a channel modification, probably part of these cut circuit traces. Someone has the wires backwards. Yeah, that's what they did. No doubt in my mind, that's all that's wrong there. I can see some sloppy soldering. So yeah, the noise blanker ANL switch is wired upside down, and some weird channels on 37, 8, 9, and 40. Like I say, I'll get this cleaned off. I don't know, it could just be some bad soldering, but I need to trace the audio chain out and see what the hell's going on there. But it doesn't look like it's going to be that bad. It looks like just some sloppy work. Somebody may have removed some modifications from this, because like I say, why else would the ANL noise blanker switch have all the wires been resoldered on it? And it's obviously had some work done in the PLL area. So yeah, somebody probably had extra channels, removed it, and got lost. And they just don't have everything back right. And so I'll get her cleaned up, and we'll see how it is after that. So the only thing I've done to this has been clean the circuit board off, so I can actually see what the hell I'm looking at. So you'll see it's nice and clean now. Have not tried reflowing solder on anything yet, because I do need to do some cleanup work on here. Like I say, there's some really bad solder joints. But after I got it cleaned off, I was able to inspect everything. Most of those bad joints look like they're making contact, so doubtful. But something I did notice is, I got to find it here. Where is it at? Right there. There's a solder bridge between there and there. You'll see it's solid, continuous, shiny metal straight across from one trace to the other. They are not supposed to be connected. You see that hole there where the terminal's sticking out that's not soldered to anything? On the opposite side of this board, that is the squelch threshold adjustment trimmer pot. So right here, here, and here. So, and this is part of the audio amplifier circuitry. So it has been shorted out to the squelch circuitry. So first thing I need to do before I go any farther is remove that solder bridge and see if that fixes it. So I'll pause the video real quick. I'm going to pop that little solder bridge out of there, hook it back up, and see if we have modulation. So keeping our fingers crossed, this radio might be nothing more than basically just fixing sloppy solder work and doing an alignment, because that's what it's really starting to look like. And yep, that fixed it. So, running into the dummy load. Audio, audio, audio. That's all it was. So, yeah, it's just a bunch of extremely sloppy work. Solder bridges, so yeah, I mean, guys, when you're doing your soldering, I post videos to show how to, do a lot of this stuff, recommendations and whatnot. That's one thing I guess I need to stipulate, when you're doing things like this, if you want to do your own cap jobs, and what I mean by that is, replacing all the electrolytic capacitors, stuff like that, which I think's great. If you want to take that job on yourself, I think that's great. Great way to save money, maybe learn a little bit about your radios. But, yeah, got to be careful to make sure you don't make solder bridges, because that little solder bridge that was right there from here to here, that's all it was. The audio circuit was shorted out to the squelch pot, and that killed it. So, and from the looks of it, yeah, I'm going to say these clipped off traces here, that's probably why my frequencies are all screwed up on, channel 37 to 40, so we'll get these fixed up next, and I'm feeling pretty confident that's probably going to fix the out of whack channels. So, yeah, it looks like somebody got a radio. It's in fairly nice condition. I don't know if it worked before. I'm assuming it might have. Because every problem I've fixed so far, low receive, low transmit power, were both alignment related. The no modulation problem, yeah, that was a solder bridge. Like I say, the channels, that's looking like that's just cut traces. Somebody might have undone a channel modification. Like I say, that's because the noise blanker A&L switch is wired backwards. I'm going to say it's, yeah, somebody removed a channel modification, and when they did, by removing the channel modification, they removed the connection of that trace. So, during the channel modification, yeah, well, you might have wanted some of those extra channels, but the pin needs to be, once you remove your switch from the circuit, you need to reconnect the original circuit traces when you're doing stuff like this. So, yeah, it's mainly just attention to detail. So, when you're going to do your own work, I always recommend, when you get done soldering, now it looked like whatever type solder they were using to do this, they were using some big fat solder probably, because, man, there was a lot of flux on here. But that's why I always recommend cleaning the solder flux off of the board. It's really hard to see shorted out traces, especially for traces that are really close together, because sometimes these leads from the factory, when they're put in, they're slightly bent over, and they can be really close to another connection. If you've got a pin sticking up from an adjacent pad that's also bent over, they can get really close together. So, once you're done doing whatever kind of work you're doing to it, clean all that flux off the board, and then give it a good once-over to make sure that you haven't bridged anything that shouldn't be connected. So, like I say, let me fix up this some of these traces over here at the PLL, and I'll see if that fixes it, because if it does, the radio's fixed, other than I need to rewire the A&L noise blanker switch. It works. It's just backwards. It's off is on and on is off. So, other than that, it's looking like a easy repair. So, customer got lucky. Nothing major. Just like I say, a little bit of tracking down some bodged previous work, and it should be back to running good. I mean, it's already got all the new parts in it. All the electrolytic caps, they've already been replaced, so they don't need to be changed, all except for that one that I did see that was original. They might have just missed that one. But, so there's progress so far. And we're back to 40 channels on the correct channels. So it actually had two problems. One cut trace on the bottom, that when someone removed the apparent channel modification, they did not reconnect that trace. And the other problem was there was a jumper removed. So these radios have, get a point and stick here, if you look down here, there's a wire right here, there's a wire right here, there's a wire right here. Now they've got diode markings. because this chassis was used for several different radios, so sometimes in some radios you might find diodes here, but in these radios they're just pieces of, bent over wire just shoved down through the holes. And a jumper, the bridge, the trace, the programming comes from, rotary channel selector switch, stops here, and then these little jumper wires bridge the gap, and then from here it goes over to the pins on the PLL chip. So someone had removed this jumper right here. So because I reconnected the trace on the bottom, tried the radio again. Now instead of having, I think it was 27425 on channel 37 and 8 and 27445 on channel 39 and 40, when I reconnected the trace on the bottom, I had different frequencies on those 4 channels, but they were still the wrong frequencies. It was 27425, 415. So channel 37 was 27415, then 253545. That's when I did a little bit more sniffing out here, got the schematic out and got to looking, and yeah, there's a jumper. Actually, I went with the service manual. So it's always nice to have factory service manuals for the X-ray views of circuit boards, so you can check stuff like that. But I got to looking and found that jumper was missing. Put a jumper wire in there, and now if we look up at the counter, and we'll get to channel 36, start out with that one again. 27365, 75, 85, 95, and 405. So frequencies are back where they're supposed to be. Now it's off. It is off frequency, but like I say, so now all I need to do is so the no modulation problem was fixed by removing a solder bridge. The channels not being correct on the high end was corrected with just removing some sloppy soldering and adding a jumper wire back in, and the very low output power and receive was just the alignment. Like I say, I just kind of real quick peaked it up, and yeah, it's fine. So I'll change out this one electrolytic capacitor. Whoever had worked on this apparently cut off all the wire ties, so all of this is supposed to be bundled, wire tied, and then that's why they had these slots here. So if you ever look at these radios, you can see there's these little notches cut out on the top side here. What that's for is so when you wrap a wire tie through this hole, you can come up over this notch and it doesn't interfere with the cover. So yeah, there should be a wire tie, put one here, one here, one here. There's usually not one here, but yeah, there's a couple wires going back. So all 4 of those holes will get populated with wire ties. Actually, there should be another one here, and also a bunch of wire ties up here, because none of this is bundled either. So yeah, we'll get all that taken care of. But before I do any of that, the only other thing I really need to do to this is, like I say, pop the faceplate, just pull this off and forward so I can get down into the noise blanker ANL switch, rewire that in the correct orientation so off is off and on is on, and not the other way around. So I think I'll just end the video here. Same chassis as any other Cobra 148, so nothing special to see. I just thought I'd go through some of the repair process to, troubleshooting. Like I say, it wasn't really a lot of, probably so much troubleshooting. It's not like with any test equipment. This was basically just your eyes. That's all. Often say that one of the best diagnostic tools you have is your eyes. Look for bad solder joints, burned up components, stuff that's out of the ordinary. So this one was mainly just bodged demodification, because it had apparently been modified and was demodified and wasn't done properly, and then some repair work replacing caps and just sloppy soldering. So yeah, pretty much everything that was wrong with it could be found with nothing more than your senses, as Buddy would say. Just use your eyes. Schematics always nice to have. Now, of course, I have factory original schematics for everything. But you can download pretty much all these schematics online nowadays. CB Tricks is a fantastic website for that. Like I say, I like the factory ones. This is a factory original. Has all the parts information on one side. And I kind of like this one because it's small, so it doesn't take up a lot of space when you're using it on the bench. It's not like some schematics can fold out for several pages. It takes up a lot of room. You've got schematics leaned up against the back side of stuff. But there you go. So, Cobra 148 GTL basically put back to proper operating order with basically nothing more than that, a soldering iron. And, well, maybe a little bit of desoldering braid, but yeah, pretty much just a soldering iron. So, yep, heed my advice. Be careful when you're soldering, guys and gals. Make sure you're not causing more problems than you're fixing.